Hello, everyone. Welcome to Hot Takes. It's the panel with hot questions and even hotter wings and even hotter panelists. I am your host, Jeffrey Sica. A lot of folks know me as Jiffy. I found out I was doing this about a week ago, so we're going to have some fun here. You would almost say that we're going to wing it.
Dude.
Xander already said that.
I know, but I have to play Taylor a little bit.
Joke stealer.
Yeah, I know. That said, as I kind of explained, we're going to be progressively eating hotter sauces. Each hot sauce is going to cause us some level of discomfort, and then I'm going to be asking them questions. The original show usually has 10 hot sauces. We got 30 minutes to go through. Or 30 minutes to do this. That's why I'm going to kind of speed things through. Also, we only have 8 sauces. Please don't judge us too harshly.
30 minutes and no YouTube magic to make it look like we did it really fast.
Hello.
You should talk into the mic.
I should talk into the mic more?
Yep.
All right. With that, panelists, please introduce yourselves, starting with Ian.
Hello, my name is Ian Coldwater. I am co-chair of Kubernetes SIG security and security researcher. I'm independent and I'm looking for work if you're hiring. And I'm very excited to be here. Thanks for coming.
I'm Xander Grzywinski. I am a tech lead for SIG docs and have also been involved with SIG release and SIG contribex in the past. And much like Ian, also work currently nowhere. Yeah.
Woo. Hire maintainers. My name is Marley Salazar. I work with SIG CLI, mostly on kubekettle. I do have a job, but
Nice.
must be nice. It is nice. All right, next.
Hello, my name is Cosgrove. Applause for Marley. I am also a SIG docs technical lead, but I am also a release team sub-project owner. So be nice to the release team. And I also don't work for anybody. So if you would like to hire me, you can do that too. I need a visa though in Europe. Thanks.
All right, with that, let's sauce up number 1. I'll ask a question, and then we'll let you all dab.
Which
all
one
of
is
these are
it?
going to be dabs, by the way. Seeing double. Oh, that's a lot.
Were we all supposed to have forks?
Yeah, we're all doing it at the same time. So just pass it down the line, I think.
Sticks.
Oh, the sticks.
Six.
Yeah.
Ooh. To kick things off on a mild note, you said Taylor didn't write any puns.
I don't have good reading skills, sorry.
Kubernetes is a pretty spicy project. But how did each of you first get involved in the Kubernetes community? Did you ever imagine back then that working on an open source project, I hate Taylor, could heat up to the scale and responsibility it has today?
So like the Scoville scale? Then?
Yeah, the Scoville scale. Yeah,
Are we answering in order?
go for it.
Well, I got involved in the Kubernetes project in 2016. I was playing Capture the Flag competitively at the time and got a job as an IT team of 1 at a place that probably took several years of my life and gave me a few gray hairs. I automated my way through that whole job because I was doing the job of 10 people. And then I got really interested and automation. So I found out about this like cool, weird new thing called Kubernetes and then got a job at a place that were very early adopters of Kubernetes 1.4, which, if anyone remembers Kubernetes 1.4, had basically no security to speak of. They were running it in production, which was a very brave choice, and they said they needed a security expert on the team. And they asked me if I could learn how to break it. And I said, yeah. Challenge accepted. I probably can. As it turns out, I could break it. And now I am co-chair of SIG Security because I got pretty good at it and it's really important to me. So happy to be here.
I started, I don't know how many years it's been, 5, 6, somewhere in there. Originally with SIG release, helping out with the release team. I had never really done open source stuff prior to that because I didn't want to code outside of work. And Kubernetes is at a scale such that like it is a project that can actually support contribution outside of strictly code contribution. And so there was a place for helping out with things that look more like program management and just operational kind of stuff. And so that's kind of how I found my way into it, and yeah, been around ever since.
I was doing primarily VMware-based stuff and decided I didn't want to do that anymore. And looked around and saw Kubernetes and was like, that's close enough. And when I was casting them out trying to find a SIG to do stuff for, I looked at Node and said, nope. And then I looked at networking and said, I don't understand what's going on here. And then I landed on kubekettle, which was a lot easier for me to understand. And we don't have a lot of contributors, so I became a co-chair.
I was using Kubernetes at work. I used to be an engineer. I learned Kubernetes in like maybe the worst way possible, which was by using K3S. It's not a super great way to learn. I like K3S, but that's not a great way to learn like Kubernetes best practices. So I was using it, but I wasn't contributing back to the project until, you remember that time we deprecated the Docker shim and everybody freaked out? That was my first contribution to Kubernetes. Everybody handled that information really poorly because we as a project grossly overestimated what the average user understood about the relationship between Kubernetes and Docker, and grossly misunderstood what a container runtime is. And somebody had to fill a knowledge gap. So I wrote several blogs and an FAQ and a guide for transitioning your cluster over to not using the literal entire Docker stack. And kind of just stuck around. Jeremy Rickard made me join the release team, and then I never left it. I was pretty good at managing the void, and so eventually they gave me ownership over the void, and now the release team is just kind of my problem.
There's a lot of coercion involved in becoming part of a Kubernetes maintenance.
There is, yeah.
Mine was completely consensual.
Second question, Kat. You famously have an NFC chip implanted in your hand, making you a literal cyborg. Does having that tech augmentation give you any unique perspective as a DevOps or cloud-native advocate? And what's your wildest or most unexpected way you've used that chip to connect to communities? Also, to speed this along, I'm immediately going to start my wing too.
Okay. Let me get that number 2 sauce then. I'm going to answer while you do it? Okay. So not only do
Fermented
I have an
kimchi.
NFC chip in my hand, there's a small one in my thumb. There is a much larger one that Taylor did not know about when he wrote this question in the back of my wrist that is both NFC and RFID, and it has an LED on it, so it lights up when somebody tries to read it, which is pretty cool. I almost exclusively use it for stupid stuff. I clone my hotel keys to it, which is pretty fun. I use a flipper to do that. It doesn't work with all hotels, but it does work with the Kalahari Resort in Ohio. So if you go to CodeMash, you can 1000% put your room key and your payment card onto your wrist. I have my Orca card on it, my Seattle bus pass, which they don't love, but it is fun. The only actually useful thing I do with this is it generates all of my one-time passwords for me. So if I lose my phone entirely, I can take any other device, install the VivoKey app on it, and tap my wrist, and I will have all of my one-time passwords again, which is pretty cool, pretty useful. But otherwise, it is entirely a gimmick. If you tap your phone up against my wrist, I forget what I have installed on it right now, it will open either a link to my Blue Sky account or my LinkedIn. So I use that at conferences, or I will change it to the YouTube link for Never Gonna Give You Up.
Of course. Of course. All right. Mainline wing 2, it was fermented kimchi. Marley, your background spans on-prem legacy systems before jumping into cloud native. What was your biggest culture shock when moving from legacy infra to contributing to Kubernetes, especially in kubectl? Are there any fun behind-the-scenes stories of a legacy mindset that you had to unlearn while learning Kubernetes?
Being able to contribute at all is, VMware doesn't take pull requests. I don't know if anybody knows that. I also had to learn Go, which was a whole
I'm sorry.
thing. Yeah, I know, I didn't go to school for programming, so it was a bit much. But, a lot of the stuff that I do is like day-to-day helping people migrate applications to Kubernetes, things that are ancient and crufty and take a lot of effort. Some of the bigger things is like back in the day, vMotion was a big deal because you could like live migrate applications between stuff, and people who are used to that don't really like the kill the pod, recreate it elsewhere methodology that Kubernetes is for. So that's a big one for people. But yeah, no, I mean, there's a lot of stuff, but those are like kind of like the really big ones.
All right. Xander, you have been at Microsoft, Twitter, Apple, and more before even diving into Kubernetes open source. Having seen how these big companies run software projects, what surprised you the most in the way Kubernetes operates as a community? Also, we hear you're into pottery. Has your experience, I hate you, Taylor. Has your experience molding clay taught you anything about patience or creativity when it comes to shaping open source communities?
Christ.
Two whole ass questions.
Pick one.
All right. I don't want to talk about everywhere I've worked. It's a nightmare. Yeah, I do think working with clay has changed the way that I think about work with computers. When doing art of a lot of different kinds, I think like, you learn a lot about critique, especially when you do it with different people. And with that, like you learn that like the goal with doing critique is not to like enforce your agenda or ideas onto something, but understand what that person was trying to achieve and work to help them get there. How can they more effectively achieve what they're trying to? And I think about that a lot when I interact with people in this community. It's and at work too. Like, I don't want to enforce my agenda. Opinions loosely held. I think staying focused on like what we're collectively trying to achieve as a community and working towards that has been much more effective.
All right, next up we are going to do Wing 3, which is the Hot Ones Barbacoa, I believe.
Exciting. Also, none of us ate lunch, so.
I ate lunch. What are you talking about?
Did you?
I ate like lunch twice.
I'm so proud of you. What's our cussing policy, by the way, for this?
Oh,
Once
that's
this gets really hot, we're letting it rip? Okay.
So I didn't mention that I work for the CNCF, and I really shouldn't give a policy here. Keep it PG-13. Lean into probably the PG-13 near the end.
That means we get one F word. PG-13 is one F-bomb.
I cannot control you, but also please know that.
As a security professional, I recommend S-bombs.
Oh. All right, ask the question.
Also, we promise that these will get hotter and it'll be more entertaining later.
Oh, yeah.
These are just the starter wings.
Well,
it's so good.
Here's a fun one, because the next question was actually going to you, Ian. Your last name might be Coldwater, but you're known for bringing the heat in Kubernetes security, and you even rocked an Untitled Goose Game shirt on stage. Once? Twice.
I'm also wearing it right now.
How do you channel that playful mischief maker energy when tackling serious security issues?
Well, a good thing to know about cybersecurity is that if you don't laugh, you'll cry. So I try to keep a sense of humor when dealing with thorny security problems, because let's be real, security itself is a thorny problem. I think that generally speaking, security professionals tend to have a reputation for being kind of not fun and not terribly pleasant to interact with. And in my experience, if you are yelling at somebody, they don't like to listen to you. However, if you are approaching somebody with humor and kindness and good nature, they might be more likely to listen to you and work together with you. So I try to use humor in the course of trying to discuss security with people and improve security overall, because I actually think it helps. I think it helps people hear it, and I think it helps make it more fun.
All right. Kubernetes decision-making often relies on consensus across SIGs and companies. Can any of you share a time when a technical or community decision got incredibly heated in a debate? And how did you and other contributors build consensus and smooth things out so there was actually a productive outcome?
I bet the security people have opinions.
Security people do tend to have opinions.
This also happens constantly in the Kubernetes project, though. We always have a lot of decision making going on that touches multiple SIGs, that touches multiple companies. SIG release deals with it all the time because we're managing contributions from most SIGs, and it is often messy. You're dealing with a lot of conflicting emotions. You're dealing with a lot of conflicting priorities. You can go look at any issue or PR with more than 40 or 50 comments probably, and you'll see people going at it. Usually it's pretty tame, and people don't actually devolve into name calling or being mean to each other. We're pretty good at this point at solving these problems in a way that's civil, but you can go look in the SIG instrumentation channel right now, and there's a long discussion going on over how we're handling some untracked changes in this very cycle and what we're going to do about them wanting an untracked change to be a release highlight. So there is a current example of a disagreement going on right now that you can go look at.
Yeah, a lot of people really want new flags in kubectl, and while I would love to say yes, there are so many right now, and maintaining that is, we need 10 times the people that currently actively contribute to kubectl to be able to support more flags.
Was that the first milk sip?
From who? I took one
Coldwater.
earlier.
Did you?
Yeah,
Wow.
I'm just thirsty.
Same.
All right, we are going to go to the next hot sauce, which is Fat Cat Chairman Meow's Revenge.
Oh, that's a runny sauce. It's going to be real easy to oversauce that one.
I'm going to oversauce it. I'm not going to feel bad.
These can't be too hot yet.
With a name like Fat Cat.
I mean, it's the revenge of Chairman Meow. This is not hot at all.
All right. The cloud-native world is filled with buzzwords and hyped trends. Service mesh, serverless, AI. Time for some hot takes, especially as we are now in the done with the first half of our sauces. Which popular tech buzzword or trend in the Kubernetes ecosystem do each of you secretly find overrated or, more sizzle than steak? Why does it not live up to your hype and your view?
Well, there are use cases for LLMs, and many of the use cases that we are being sold LLMs for are not actually use cases that are particularly good for LLMs, as it turns out. And I think it's really important when new technologies come around, especially hyped ones, but not limited to those, to understand exactly how the technology works and what exactly it does, so that you can sift through that hype and be like, is this actually the thing that it is being purported to be? Because sometimes the answer is simply no.
Yeah, we had an issue with this in SIG docs fairly recently involving an LLM tool, a paid product that purports to make it easier for your open source project to generate and maintain its documentation. It automates things like style guide compliance and grammar rules and whatnot. And it is, again, a paid product, not an open source tool. And they wanted to put the Kubernetes logo on their website. They wanted to be able to say the Kubernetes project uses their tool, and they were offering us a free license in exchange for allowing that. However, they didn't come talk to us first. They just did a drive-by PR. And it didn't work. is the thing. It was making a whole bunch of changes to like generated files that a human would not actually modify. It was not actually complying with our style guide, and we, obviously declined the PR and told them to stay away from us. And the Kubernetes project is not like a free marketing opportunity for you. So I'm also going to have to go AI and LLMs. Sometimes a person has to do that work.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to take the same one. This is not going to make me any friends. I do genuinely think that the UX for most GitOps implementations that I've seen today still sucks. Like, sorry. Yeah.
That's one of the hardest things for me, for the devs that use the Kubernetes ecosystem that I have at my job, is like the GitOps just doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to them on how it actually all has to work together. And there's so many invisible lines between each thing. And I mean, it is partly my job to make it obvious to them and give them an overarching view of all of it, but it's so hard. It's so much extra work.
All right, let's move on to the next wing now. Bourbon Maple Reaper hot sauce. It says it's insanely spicy, 9 out of 10.
Okay.
You got this.
I'm so happy that there's just feedback in another room for me to dissociate to with this.
It is kind of a vibe, like.
Look, I'm not going to pretend like I don't listen to music like this.
Me neither. No, I was listening to Ethel Cain's new album this morning, and it's like straight up just noises. Like the first track starts with just airplane
Oh
sounds.
my god, I love that album though. It's so good. I can't wait to see her soon.
How are we feeling so far?
This is 9 out of 10.
According to that bottle,
Okay.
nowhere near as spicy as the stuff we've dealt with. So, speaking of, being a maintainer isn't all glamour. There's real emotional labor in shepherding a huge community. I think we all know this deeply and can agree. How do you each avoid burnout and maintain your passion? What strategies do you use? How do you set boundaries?
I don't.
Burnout bad how?
We're all burned out.
Yeah, I'm so burnt out.
Yeah.
I haven't made a PR in like a year.
Yeah.
All right, let me put it this way. Y'all need to say a little more than that, otherwise we're going right to the next wing.
I think it's really important to find things for yourself to do that do not involve a screen, the internet, PRs, doom scrolling, staying up all night on YouTube, really get off the computer and literally go touch grass. I'm so sorry, but I think it actually really does help. I dealt with my burnout by learning to chase the northern lights, and now I travel around looking at pretty rainbows in the sky, and it is absolutely wonderful, if occasionally quite cold, and takes me away from the computer. And I would just really like to recommend to everybody that you find something that you love that takes you away from the computer, whether it be art, whether it be something involved in nature, anything, because it's good to step away sometimes, and in my experience, that helps a lot.
Yeah, I can't even use my office for work anymore because it's just become a painting studio, and I've got some really creepy art behind me, so I can't do video calls in there or anything anymore. And I did for a while. Did I show you the one with the mirrors and the blood? Okay, yeah, it's fantastic.
So first of all, that hot sauce weirdly tastes a little bit like nail polish. Like the way nail polish
How
smells.
do you know that?
Yeah, how do you know how it tastes?
Because if I can smell something, I know what it's going to taste like. And that tastes a little bit the way nail polish smells. Second, I personally am also burned out, but I'm a little bit better at managing it than most. So I will talk about what SIG release does to try to manage burnout. By charter, we will delay a release before we make the team work at night or on weekends. I explicitly have the power to say, nope, we're going to push back a week.
Love to hear it.
Because we can't build this thing without our contributors. We can't release it without the release team. The release team is like 30-ish people and a massive amount of work over the course of 14 weeks, herding cats, arguing with contributors, and trying to manage the relationships between potentially hundreds of people. And that sucks, and it is a burnout factory. So if I have a choice between making people work late or making somebody smash a bug on a weekend and pushing the release a week, I will push the release a week. And like we explicitly in writing get to do that. So
Also, I want to point out, as someone who was formerly involved in the release teams a lot, that was not always the case. And it was not the case when I was around. So thank you.
you're so welcome.
Next up, Red Flag Black Eyed Susan by the Black Eyed Susan Spice Company. I think this is where it's going to start getting.
This is where it gets unpleasant.
I think this is where it starts getting hot.
The last
Bringing
one
the
did
heat.
linger, and one of the little pieces of chili got stuck under my tongue ring, and that didn't feel great.
Oh, well, the face he just made, this will be fun.
It's because it tastes good too.
Is this our debone?
No, the
No.
bomb is next.
I also feel totally weird just like chewing on stage. Sorry. I know this is awkward for me. Good enough. All right. If you could. Are y'all good?
This
Are we
maybe
feeling-
has a slow burn, but it does not have a fast one.
No, I feel it kind of in the
takes
like
a
in the
second.
back.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Oh, okay.
By the way, now this is where it actually starts getting genuinely uncomfortable for us. So another round of applause for these four.
Yeah, I am starting to sweat a little bit.
Yeah.
Me too.
Sweater was probably not the right call for me, but I wanted to at least do a little Sean Evans throwback since he usually wears something like this.
We are sweaters right now.
Yeah. God, all right, maybe the sauce is hitting me. I just got that. If you could magically redesign or fix one aspect of Kubernetes architecture, no backward compatibility worries, no alpha, beta, GA, carte blanche, what would each of you do and why? I can give examples, but I kind of want to not give Taylor any more words.
I would love RBAC to be in conformance. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Wait, RBAC's not in conformance?
Backwards compatibility, baby.
Oh.
I think there's some things I would change about the resource management definitions to make it a lot more intuitive and scalable, manageable, customizable, all of the above.
You sound like that's starting to hurt.
Yes.
This one has a happy ending, actually. So for the longest time, updating the kube config for kubekettle was like basically impossible because it was not versioned. And any change that we would make to it would probably break like 50 to 60% of CIs in the world. And but we just alphaed a feature called kuberc that gives us a versioned RC-like config, so we can set default flags and stuff, because we can't really change default behaviors in kubekettle, and that means that like we can't help prevent people from deleting their whole cluster when they do a kubekettle delete command and don't pass the right flags. But now we have a flag for interactive deletes that will list out everything it's going to try and delete for you to confirm. But we can't make it default because it would break a lot of stuff. So with the new feature, we're able to enforce, let admins or IT teams or whoever enforce amongst the people that are touching their Kubernetes clusters, having those flags enabled by default and things like that. So that's what I would change, and we did. It wasn't me. It was a group effort by SIG CLI. It was great. Thank you so much, Arda, for making the last final push for that.
I would go back in time, I think. I understand why the Docker shim was necessary, right? Docker was our original and only container runtime, but that whole situation was just so janky that we needed a software shim to get at Docker's instance of containerd. I wish we had not designed it that way in the first place. It caused a lot of drama that took a lot of time and energy and effort for a significant portion of the project to manage. And I fear that people not wanting to deal with migrating off of Docker as a container runtime led to a lot of people staying on an outdated version of Kubernetes much longer than they should have. And that's bad. That's bad. So if literally anything goes, I would like to time travel and with knowledge of the future to change the way we handled our container runtimes.
All right. We are at the equivalent of what is our DBOM. This is Mr. Naga from Ian's personal stash, and it is apparently 10 times hotter than DBOM.
But is not disgusting like DBOM is, which is why we substituted it out.
We are also at our time. We're going to probably go 5 minutes over, but I wanted all of us to suffer on this one together. 3, 2, 1, cheers.
That's delicious, but it is very
You
hot.
have to
so
ask us a
good.
question having just eaten this, right?
Let's have some fun with analogies.
Jesus.
It's still in my mouth.
Sorry, I did it.
If Kubernetes were a character in a movie or a D&D campaign, who would it be and why?
Vin Diesel in Fast and the Furious.
Because it's all about family.
Because it's all about family.
It's all about the contributor family.
It's all about the contributor family. I don't know. Vin Diesel in Fast and the Furious is the first movie character I could think of. So that's what you get, I guess.
Family.
What's the D&D monster with it's like the head that floats? And
A beholder?
Yeah.
A beholder?
Beholder.
Yeah,
That.
okay. A beholder, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
You know those like old-timey switchboard operators?
Oh my
I
God,
think
my
we're
nose
an
is running.
old-timey switchboard operator. I think that's what Kubernetes does.
I don't think I like you anymore.
I love you too.
All right, well, we are almost at time, or over time, but we have one last wing. It's tradition around here, but we have always been doing the dab at this point for all the sauces. So let's do the last dab, and then I will give you all your last question.
Well, I should have worn waterproof mascara. Sorry, everybody.
Are you crying? Yeah. Oh.
No, I would never.
I wanted to get that SNL skit mascara that like runs really badly for this, but
The chat Ian is genuinely crying.
Thanks for pointing that out to everybody, Kat.
No problem. We're here to entertain.
All right, so.
I love you all.
We love
Do you?
too.
This is
The last
this
dab.
is the last dab.
oh god. From the YouTube show.
I'm not crying. You're crying?
All right, we made it.
That's not so bad.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
This is my new milk.
Looking back on all of your time spent in open source, what is one piece of advice or nugget of wisdom you give to someone aspiring to become a Kubernetes contributor or a SIG lead?
Never kill yourself for an open source project.
Is it a chicken nugget of wisdom?
It does. The open source project is not signing your paycheck. Okay. Working with an open source project or in an open source project may get you a job with somebody who will pay you money, but if you are doing this entirely in your spare time or you're unemployed, like 3 of us, don't kill yourself for an open source project. It can't pay your bills.
I'm
It
going to
can't.
put this on a much lighter note and say, don't be intimidated to contribute to open source. I know that we all look super cool up here, like crying, but
Yeah, I'm
Kubernetes
so
is-
cool, Ian.
really welcoming and really friendly and really inclusive, and we pride ourselves on that. don't feel intimidated. I know it can feel intimidating, but like, come plug in. We're always looking for contributors. Come hang out. We've got lots for you to do. We've got lots of places for you to plug in. And frankly, we try to make it fun, as you can see right here. So hope to see you at a meeting sometime. I hope to see your pull requests. And I'm definitely not crying right now.
I've been asked a lot of times like how to get started with like contributing and Kubernetes and things, and I think it's enough to just show up in the beginning. Like, you don't have to be making PRs right away. You don't have to be, even asking questions, opening issues. Like, it's enough to just start coming to the meetings and be present and show up. Like, that's a great step one. From there, questions will arise, and honestly, like, I think I wish I had known that a lot earlier. There was a lot of time of like feeling inadequate, like I wasn't doing enough. Really, in the beginning, it's truly enough to just show up.
And if you don't feel like you see the space that you want it to be or the things that you want to happen, come make them happen. Come make that space. We're happy to make it with you.
Yeah, we definitely notice, like, or I do anyway. I run all the SIG CLI meetings, and I definitely notice when new people show up, and I'm so thankful and appreciative.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
I can't overstate how uncomfortable this is.
My hands are numb. I'm not sure how.
I can't feel the tip of my tongue, and I'm pretty sure my lips are swelling.
All right, we are
We're at time.
last thoughts. Otherwise, I'm going to
We
wrap this
hope
up.
that all of our suffering today was entertaining to all of you. Thank you all so much for coming out today. We really appreciate it.
Round of applause for everybody. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for the event staff for putting up with our BS, because getting this to happen was not easy.
Thank you.
Oh, no, it was
We're
not.
now going to go suffer.
And if anybody wants like a ridiculously hot sauce, we've got a bunch now. And probably can't bring it on the plane.
No, I'm not taking it home.
All right.
Sorry, everybody.